The 5S template that's available out on the sixsigma.org website is broken up into two parts, the production part and the office part. So depending on what environment you're in, you would use one or the other. And we begin by clicking on the audit sheet. So we'll begin with production. We'll click on the audit sheet. Now, anytime you see a yellow colored cell in our templates, it means the template's looking for an input. So perhaps here the process or project name is the ABC process. So we'll just key that in here. And then you begin by answering the questions associated with the sort phase. So, as you can read here, only the current levels of inventory in the area is needed for the work at hand. And now we're going to score that question based on a 5-point scale. So 5 being sort of a best practice in the organization or in the industry, if you happen to know what that is, all the way over to there's no activity or very slight effort. So let's say, for example, that scores a 3 in the process that we're interested in. Then I go down to the next question. Only the necessary items to perform the task or the work at hand are located in the area, and maybe we score that at a 2. And as you move down the questions, you just score them as appropriate. Now this is somewhat subjective, but recognize that the 5S, you're looking for guidance. Where can you focus your improvement efforts to have an impact on the process or the product? And so you carry down into the next section, which is straighten. Machines, benches, etc. are arranged in a logical and neat fashion to promote a smooth product flow through the work area, and perhaps that's not something we do very well, so we score that one. And maybe we don't score well in the straighten portion of this survey. And on. We'll just keep moving down here. And I'll just arbitrarily now put some values in so we can see what the result might look like, but perhaps in this one we score quite high. Something that looks like this. And then perhaps in this one we score quite low in a number of the categories. On the sustain, perhaps we score quite low again. And of course these are, I'm arbitrarily putting numbers in here, but you would put in the appropriate score. So once that's done, once you've scored all 5 S's as it were, then you can go over to the radar chart. Now the radar chart, you'll notice that this is the 5S for the ABC process, and the total score is 50 out of 125. And evidently high score is desired here, and so in the shine portion we scored very high, but in the sustain part of the survey we scored quite low, and also in the standardize. So now the question is, what do I do with that? Well, you might then think about, what is it I could do for the ABC process to sustain or perhaps standardize the process under consideration? What are those activities, what are those initiatives, what are those improvements that I could do to help standardize or maybe even straighten? So you could say they all scored about the same here. Okay? And if I just look down a little bit lower, you'll be able to see the actual score itself. So the lowest scoring category was straighten, standardize, sustain. There it is. Okay, so the sustain part is the lowest scoring. And that's really it. Now you can use this in a presentation. You want to use this perhaps as a baseline. Do this before you launch into some improvements, and then after, so you can see where you've made an improvement. Okay, now we'll go back to the main menu, and let's go and do the same thing for an office audit sheet. Now the questions are slightly different. In this case, maybe it's the D, E, and F process. And now we begin answering our questions. Only the current levels of data storage needed for the work is available. So you can see there's a slight difference in the way the questions are worded, because now I'm focused on an office environment. And so perhaps here I score quite low. Something like that. And again, this is, I'm putting in arbitrary numbers. You wouldn't do that, of course. This should be done by a team, and at the very minimum it should be done by somebody who's very familiar with the process. Now perhaps here I score low as well, and then maybe up in here I score a little higher. Usually not the case, but it could be almost anything. And again, I'm just putting in some arbitrary numbers here. scoring in each case, each question 1 to 5. And then once I'm done, I go over to the radar chart and evaluate the radar chart. Now in this case, it looks like maybe straighten is the lowest scoring category, perhaps sort. If I want to know specifically, I can come down here, and yes, indeed, straighten is the lowest category. So I might want to start there and say, okay, what is it about the process that I could straighten? Now, as a reminder, I'm going to go up one tab here as a reminder. Straighten generally refers to deciding and organizing where to keep necessary items, and so particularly in an office environment where you've got multiple versions of the same instruction manual, revisions of spreadsheets and that sort of thing, okay, and or it could be items in a directory or a shared drive that don't belong there and aren't focused on the work. Maybe at one time it was, but now it's not. So you would go in and perhaps choose those, and you can use the questions here to kind of guide you through where you believe improvements are. So for example, this one, it says data storage locations are well documented. And if you scored very low, which we did in this case, then perhaps one of the initiatives is to go and document completely or well or fully the data storage locations and make sure that they're understood by all. And then also that they're easy to locate. You've got directories that are well published and the content of the directories and that sort of thing. So that's the 5S. That's the 5S tool. And I hope you enjoy it, and it will be useful for you in your organization. If you would like online 5S training, of course, we have that. You can just click on the hot link in any one of the tabs here, and it'll take you to sixsigma.org and describe the training that we offer out on the website.